Women and Children First, by Tara C. Hall. Interior, big box store, day. A nondescript chain store, like Walmart or Target, is mobbed with Christmas shoppers, frantically buying last-minute items. Everyone is either stressed out or distracted with the overstimulation of music, swats of people, and blinking lights. Nora Gonzalez, 20s, an emotionally strung-out young mother, has her newborn, Desmond, swaddled to her chest. Her toddler, Aubrey, 3, holds her hand. Nora has only a package of diapers as she scans the checkouts for the shortest line. She finds a break and crosses to the register, but a tug on her arm stops her as she's about to take her place. Aubrey points to a toy display longingly. Nora just wants to be out of the store.
Not today, Aubrey.
Aubrey angrily smacks her mother hard in the stomach, catching Nora off guard. She drops the package of diapers.
Aubrey! Nora
kneels down to face her daughter, cradling her newborn. As she does, a silver-haired man cuts the line, placing his items on the conveyor belt.
Are you happy? We've lost our place in line.
I don't care.
Behave or we're leaving.
Aubrey goes limp in Nora's arms.
Damn it, child!
Aubrey has the upper hand and she knows it. Nora wells up, but presses down her emotion. The despair of postpartum depression turns to anger.
Get up now.
She grabs Aubrey by the arm as she stands. In Nora's periphery, a tall figure rushes towards the checkout line. The blurred figure is a crazed man with long, ratted hair and a large, rusted axe. The axeman swings the axe over his head. The blade sinks into the skull of the silver-haired man. Screams and chaos fill the room. Shoppers run. Some make it to the entrance. Others scurry to the back and hide. Nora pulls Aubrey under the checkout. The silver-haired man's body collapses in front of her. The axeman hovers over Nora and her children. His wild, dark eyes regard her coldly. He smiles. He raises his axe above his head once more. Nora shuts her eyes. Black.
By the time the man, later identified as Randall Walter Perry, had entered that store, he had already killed his entire family, including his 2 young daughters, Emily and Annabelle Perry. His wife, Teresa, he tortured for several hours before she bled to death from her injuries. The coroner counted 88 individual stab wounds.
Collective gasps. Fade in on, superimpose, 10 years later. Interior auditorium, small college campus, day. Nora, 30s, reads from her book at a podium in a full auditorium. She pauses, feeling the weight of her words. She looks up into the audience.
Desmond, Aubrey, and I were the lucky ones. We didn't know this man the way Teresa knew him.
She looks out into the audience of mostly women.
Women and children are the most common victims of violent crime, and the majority of that violence is inflicted by domestic partners.
In the audience, Aubrey, now 13, slumps in her seat, doodling veiny eyeballs, exposed skulls, and other gruesome images. Her brother, Desmond, 10, sits beside her, wearing noise-canceling headphones. They are not plugged into anything. He secures the headphones against his ears while he reads the graphic novel, Amulet. He finishes his book, stuffs it in his backpack, and grabs the next one in the series. A middle-aged woman wearing a pantsuit runs her fingers over Nora's photo on the dust jacket of her book.
Every 9 seconds, a woman is beaten or assaulted by her partner. Last year alone, over 1,500 women were killed by abusive boyfriends or husbands. When I first read those statistics, I was struck by how pervasive these numbers are and how little we even talk about them. I tell this story, my story, because I wanted to give a face to this violence, a face to the evil.
An image of Perry, the axeman, appears on the screen behind her. The audience murmurs their collective disgust.
But it's not just Perry I want to shed light on. Criminologists and psychologists have written plenty of books trying to figure out what caused Perry to snap. We don't often talk about the victims and the long-term effects of this trauma.
The image changes to photos of Teresa, 35, Emily, 7, and Annabelle, 4. They are photographs that depict a happy mother and happy children, their innocence frozen in time.
Teresa, Emily, and Annabelle should be remembered, but not as part of these chilling statistics. We are all more than just this tragedy.
She closes her book.
Thank you.
Applause. The middle-aged woman next to Aubrey leaps up to join the standing ovation. She gives Aubrey a side-eye, taking note of Aubrey's long blue ponytail, swishing as she shades her drawing.
I don't think this is an appropriate place for children. Do you?
Aubrey looks up, her glare piercing.
I think it's much more fucked up that I lived through it.
It takes her a moment to put it together. Then the middle-aged woman's eyes go wide. She's horrified and starstruck.
You're Aubrey. That Aubrey? Do you remember any of it?
Aubrey shakes her head.
I mean, I was 3. Do you remember anything from when you were 3?
The middle-aged woman shakes her head, no, disappointed. Her attention drawn back to Nora, who calls on someone in the audience.
How has this experience changed the way you've raised your children?
Nora sighs, preparing a stock answer to a loaded question. Exterior, interior, downtown courthouse, day. Nora escorts Aubrey and Desmond through a long hallway and leads them to a bench outside of the courtroom.
Look, this shouldn't take more than an hour, so don't leave this bench and don't talk to anyone.
Why couldn't we just stay with Rachel?
Rachel's working.
Why couldn't we just stay at home?
You know I can't let you do that.
The law says that if we're over the age,
I know the law.
Alana's parents let her stay home alone.
Then Alana's parents are crazy.
Hey guys.
The kids wheel around and see their father, Charlie, late 30s, heading towards them. Aubrey leaps into his arms.
Daddy!
Desmond, a little more reserved, goes in for a hug.
Hey, Dad.
Charlie gets choked up seeing them.
Oh, I missed you guys so much, I can't stand it.
When can we come stay with you, Dad?
I hope real soon, Aubrey baby.
Charlie wipes his eyes as he gently pulls the children off and kneels face to face with them.
You both look so grown up, I feel like I'm missing all of it.
Can we go camping again?
I don't know, kiddo, I think that's what we're here to decide.
Nora watches the interaction from a safe distance. She restrains herself from getting involved. Interior, family court, continuous. The doors close behind Nora and Charlie as they enter the family courtroom. It's drab and unimpressive. Not a dramatic courtroom setting, just tables and chairs arranged in a semicircle. Charlie can't resist leaning over to whisper to Nora before they part ways.
I thought as their mother you would want to protect the kids from this, but I guess it would be too much to ask to think of someone other than yourself.
Nora's ready to unleash holy hell, but a hand on her shoulder jolts her back to reality. It's her lawyer, Ida Thomas, 60s.
Don't let him bait you. We have a long road ahead.
Satisfied with himself, Charlie saunters to his side of the courtroom and sits next to his lawyer, Edward Dante, 50s.
What do you mean? I thought this was a formality.
I said I thought with your husband's prior conviction, it weighs much more heavily on you getting full custody. I didn't count on drawing Judge Saunders.
Judge Saunders, 70, enters the courtroom. He's a silverback, grumpy-looking judge.
Unfortunately, he favors the fathers, even when they have histories of substance abuse.
You can't be serious.
Oh, yes. He believes the courts are unfairly skewed towards women in custody cases. He's a real mouthpiece for men's rights.
Nora groans. Judge Saunders sits. The rest of the room follows. Interior, family court, Nora's testimony, later. Nora is more nervous and subdued than usual, but determined when facing Charlie's lawyer, Dante.
So, Mrs. Gonzalez, you're a novelist, correct?
I'm a true crime writer.
Right. True crime writer. And the stuff that you write about is pretty gruesome, wouldn't you say?
Murder is gruesome, yes.
How much of it do you expose your children to?
I don't expose my children to any of it, but it does exist in the world, and in fact, we were the victims of a violent...
Edward waves her off dismissively.
Yes, we know about what happened to you 10 years ago. It was tragic. No one here denies that, but we're here to talk about the well-being of your children. Now, do you think you're providing a safe, healthy environment for Desmond and Aubrey?
I think...
You know what? Don't answer that.
Nora is thrown. Dante digs into his briefcase and produces several 8x10 photos of infamous crime scenes. Dante hands them to Nora, but makes sure that the judge gets a good look as he passes them. On top is a blown-up Polaroid of teenage kidnapping victim Tara Calico and an unidentified little boy. They are both bound, duct tape covering their mouths, their eyes pleading with their kidnapper. The judge flinches.
Do you recognize these photographs?
That's Tara Calico and a little boy who was never identified. The photograph was found in the parking lot of a grocery store. No one knows what happened to these kids.
Can you tell me why you have copies of these in your house?
Nora looks back and forth between Dante and Charlie.
My publisher suggested them for the cover of my next book. I rejected them all, by the way.
She looks to the judge. He doesn't hide his disgust.
Did you show these to Desmond or Aubrey?
Of course not.
Let me rephrase that. Did either of your children happen to see them?
No.
Edward Dante produces another picture from his briefcase. This one is a pencil rendering of the photo, signed Aubrey.
Then how did you think your daughter came up with this?
Nora doesn't know what to say. She looks to her lawyer. Ida shakes her head. She can't help Nora now. Interior, family court, Charlie's testimony, later. Charlie sniffles, dabbing his eyes with a handkerchief as he talks. This isn't an act. He's an emotional guy.
My 10-year-old son, Desmond, still wets the bed, but he's too ashamed to tell his mother, so he changes the sheets so she won't notice.
Nora hides her face in her hands. Charlie eyes Nora, directing all of his hatred towards her.
He's scared of all that gory stuff his mother subjects him to, but more afraid of telling her how he really feels.
Nora is wounded. Her facade is cracking. Exterior, Nora's neighborhood, night. A large old house in a remote wooded area at the end of a cul-de-sac. Even though the landscape is green year-round, it feels bleak and gloomy under the overcast winter sky. Nora's neighbors are at least a quarter mile from her on either side. Beyond that, there is nothing but giant evergreens stretching out into the distance. Exterior, interior, Nora's house, continuous. Nora drinks Maker's Mark with her neighbor Rachel, 50s, a nurse still in her scrubs. Rachel is pouring.
You should have seen the look on his face. It was disgusting. It made him so happy to tell me that my son is afraid of me.
He's not afraid of you.
He is. And Aubrey absolutely hates me.
All 13-year-old girls hate their mothers.
Do you know, I just read a case about a mother who poisoned and strangled her kids rather than share custody with her ex.
Are you really thinking of strangling your children?
Aubrey, maybe.
Rachel laughs, squeezing Nora's shoulder sympathetically.
You're a survivor.
I hate that word.
Well, you are, Nora, and you're a fucking survivor.
And you are fucking drunk right now.
Rachel shrugs. She is drunk. The stairwell creaks. Nora looks up at Aubrey, peering down at them from the banister.
What are you doing? It's 1 in the fucking morning.
You're being loud. You woke me up.
Go to bed.
Aubrey disappears. The door slams behind her. Interior, Nora's house, Aubrey and Desmond's bedroom, continuous. Aubrey throws herself into her bed, burying her face in her arms. Her long blue hair cascades around her like a curtain. Desmond emerges from under his covers, half asleep.
What's going on?
Nothing. Mom's being a bitch again.
Oh, right. That.
Desmond rolls over and closes his eyes.
You should be nicer to Mom. It's hard for her right now.
That's all I ever hear is how hard it is for her.
Desmond sits up again.
She doesn't want to lose us to Dad.
I would gladly go live with Dad.
Not me.
Mom won't even let you join the baseball team.
I don't want to join the baseball team.
You know what I mean.
She's just trying to keep us safe.
Aubrey rolls her eyes and pulls out her laptop.
You'll believe anything she tells you. You're an idiot, Mama's boy.
You're an idiot if you want to live with Dad.
You only hate Dad because Mom tells you to.
Aubrey switches on her computer. She jumps when she hears the warm-up hum, louder than she expected.
Better not let Mom catch you doing that.
Shut up and go to sleep, Mama's boy.
Desmond gives her the finger, rolls over, and falls asleep. Aubrey checks to make sure her mother didn't hear her, then pulls a blanket over her as she types. Insert. Computer screen. Aubrey opens Facebook Messenger and starts a new message thread with the screen name Badlands82. Aubrey types, "You awake?" She smiles when she sees the 3 pulsing dots. Interior, Nora's house, front foyer, continuous. Nora and Rachel hug goodbye. Rachel grabs her coat and purse.
Are you sure you don't want me to drive you?
It's just down the street.
Nora peers out of the open door.
It's a quarter mile and it's pretty dark out there.
The street lights are out.
Since when?
Rachel recognizes the worried look on Nora's face.
I don't know, but they're out all the way down the block, so it's probably just a power outage on that part of the break.
Rachel kisses Nora on the cheek and leaves. Nora attaches a series of locks and deadbolts as soon as her friend is gone. Exterior, Nora's house, Nora's street, continuous. Rachel makes the long walk back to her house as we follow her down the darkened road. Her feet crunch on broken glass. She keeps walking, without noticing that the glass is from the broken streetlights above. Exterior, interior, Middlebury High School, day. Aubrey wanders the halls with her eyes cast to the ground. She's a loner, and acutely aware of all the social interactions around her. She puts in earbuds to give herself some social armor. A figure in a hooded sweatshirt rushes Aubrey, grabbing her arm. Aubrey jumps out of her skin, then laughs. It's her friend Alana, 14, older both in years and teenage experience, but much more laid back than Aubrey. Aubrey lights up when she sees her. Interior, Middlebury High School, equipment storage room, later. Aubrey and Alana sneak into a storage room and shut the door behind them, whispering and giggling.
Dude, where did you get those boots? I want them.
They were a gift from my dad.
Are they steel-toed?
Yeah.
Shit, girl.
Alana grabs Aubrey's foot to get a closer look. They get cozy.
Pretty badass.
Thanks.
Alana produces a CBD oil vape pen. She puffs it and hands it to Aubrey.
I think it's like an indica hybrid or something. It will chill you out, but it won't put you out. At least that's what my mom says.
Aubrey exhales a puff of vape smoke.
Wait, did your mom give this to you?
Oh, hell no. She would kill me if she knew. She likes to brag about how progressive and cool she is, that she's the pot-smoking mama.
Aubrey hands the pen back to Alana.
I can't smoke anymore.
There is a stone pause in the conversation. They look at each other, then burst out laughing.
So, what's your deal?
What do you mean?
I mean, who are you crushing on?
Aubrey shrugs. She's blushing.
No one?
Alana sees Aubrey's nervousness, and she softens.
Do you even like boys?
I don't know.
Aubrey looks away, unable to make eye contact.
Do you like girls?
I don't know. Maybe.
So, you're gay?
Aubrey shrugs. She cautiously glances at Alana.
I guess so.
That's cool.
Alana takes Aubrey's hand.
I like girls too.
Alana pulls Aubrey's face towards her. Aubrey is terrified. Her heart beating rapidly, she leans towards Alana. As they are about to meet for their first kiss, they hear a loud crash in the other room. They look at each other in bewilderment. Footsteps stomp towards them. Alana grabs Aubrey and leads her out. Interior, Middlebury High School, hallway, continuous. The girls run up the steps of the basement, into the empty hallway, and burst into laughter. School has ended, and they head for the exit.
I'm going to the mall. You want to come?
Aubrey's laughter dissolves.
I can't. My mother won't let me do anything like that. She's a total Nazi.
You could sneak out and meet me in the fields after she's asleep.
That's like 4 miles from my house.
Alana squeezes her friend's hand and sets Aubrey aglow.
At least walk me to the bus stop.
Aubrey smiles, then suddenly remembers.
I can't. I have to go meet my brother.
Aubrey grabs Alana's cell phone and checks the time. 4:05 p.m.
Shit.
Exterior, Middlebury High School, continuous. Aubrey runs outside. She stops when she sees something out of place. 3 large seniors taunt Desmond, pushing him playfully. Desmond looks intimidated.
Hey,
She runs over and slams one of the senior bullies into a parked car.
get the fuck off him!
One of the other bullies grabs her by the arm. Aubrey deftly twists out of it and puts his arm in a lock. The second bully cries out in pain. She jabs him in the throat, knocking the wind out of him. The third bully moves towards Aubrey, and she kicks him in the balls and then breaks his nose with one good punch. They're all humiliated and frightened.
We weren't going to hurt him, you psycho.
Aubrey realizes that Alana is watching. She turns to see her horrified face as she disappears into the crowd. Interior, Nora's car, later. Nora's pissed. Aubrey is in the front seat, staring straight ahead in defiance. Desmond sits quietly in the back seat, not wanting to set either of them off. Even without words, their combined anger for one another is deafening in the car. Nora cuts the silence first.
I'm beyond words right now.
Desmond leans in between the driver and passenger seats.
Mom, it's not her fault.
Actually, it is her fault, Desmond.
Desmond sits back. Nora points an angry finger at her daughter.
You were supposed to meet your brother. Where were you?
Aubrey turns away and solemnly stares out of the car window.
I don't want to talk about it.
You have to make better decisions. I was waiting for half an hour. I thought you'd been kidnapped.
You read too many of those stupid books. There are not like a million evil human traffickers out there trying to kidnap.
I thought you'd been kidnapped by your father.
Aubrey turns back to her mother, fury in her eyes.
Dad wouldn't have to kidnap me.
You're 13 and you know everything now. And what about Desmond? Are you willing to make that decision for him too?
Aubrey glances into the back seat at Desmond.
Desmond can do whatever he wants.
That's just great.
Aubrey shakes her head angrily and crosses her arms.
And you can't go to the school counselor anymore.
What?
The principal blindsided me with that.
Not everything is about you, Nora.
Nora narrows her eyes at the mention of her name.
If your father found out, he would use it against me in court. Everything is so tenuous right now.
Why won't you just give him partial custody?
Because you don't know him the way I do.
You don't think I know my own father?
Nora sighs. She wants to hold back, but can't anymore.
When you were 4 years old, I left you with your father so I could take Desmond to urgent care. You had an ear infection or something. Your father was so high he left you in the bathtub for hours. You got pneumonia and almost died.
Aubrey and Desmond are horrified. This story is a revelation.
Why didn't you ever tell me that before?
I couldn't.
I don't believe you. You're a liar.
Ask him. See if he's willing to admit it.
Aubrey looks away, wounded.
He's clean now. He would never hurt us.
Oh, yeah. He's clean now. But see if he'll own all of his past fuck-ups. And while you're at it, ask your father about the sort of people he still consorts with, even though he's clean.
Nora is so wound up she doesn't notice the terrified looks on her children's faces. She's different, crazy, unhinged.
Ask your wonderful father where he would disappear to for weeks at a time, leaving me alone to raise 2 small children. Ask him, because I'm not sure I want to know, but he's so wonderful.
Stop it! Okay, just fucking stop.
Aubrey covers her ears and sobs violently. Nora sees it, the wide-eyed looks on Desmond and Aubrey's faces.
Mom, I think you might need a counselor or something.
Nora's eyes fill up with tears, but she forces herself to choke them back. It turns her expression to one of anger. Exterior, Nora's neighborhood. Interior, Nora's car. Afternoon. Nora's car pulls down their street. Her neighbor Stephen, 40s, breaks from his gardening, stretches, and waves to her as she drives past. Exterior, neighbor's house. Continuous. Stephen goes back to his gardening as his wife, Helena, 40s, approaches.
Was that Nora?
Yes.
Did you ask her about that electrician she used?
It slipped my mind.
Helena shoots her husband a disappointed look.
Stephen.
Why don't you go ask her?
You know, I'd rather not. I'll just look them up on Yelp.
Exterior, interior, Nora's car. Continuous. Nora continues to the end of the street and pulls into her driveway. She parks in front of her garage. Interior, Nora's house, front foyer, moments later. Desmond and Aubrey enter the front door. Nora comes right behind, carrying brown paper bags of takeout. Desmond peels off his backpack and coat and leaves them in the foyer.
You hungry?
Not really.
Desmond skulks up the stairs and shuts himself in his room. Aubrey strips off her coat and throws it on the coat rack. It falls to the floor. She doesn't bother to pick it up.
Do you want to talk about what happened?
Not with you.
Aubrey stomps up the stairs.
We don't always have to fight, you know.
We do as long as you keep us on house arrest.
What are you talking about?
I'm the only kid I know who doesn't have a cell phone. I can't even go to the mall with my friends like a normal person.
I know it's hard to believe, but this is all for you.
This is about you, not me.
There is not one part of being a mother that isn't a sacrifice.
Enough with the martyr routine.
I'm protecting you.
You're not protecting me. You're just a crazy bitch.
Aubrey bolts upstairs, slams her bedroom door behind her. Interior, neighbor's house, bedroom, night. Helena watches Rachel Maddow in bed. Stephen kicks off his shoes and undresses. They settle in for the night. Exterior, neighbor's house, garage, continuous. 3 men wearing masks stand outside the garage door. One of the men, Harvey, climbs onto a parked car to unscrew the security light. He jumps down. The ringleader, Rand, looks to the 3rd man, Walter. All 3 exchange a look. Walter pries open the garage door. The others duck under and slip inside. Interior, neighbor's house, bedroom, night. Stephen, now in his pajamas, climbs into the bed next to Helena. She turns the volume down on the television.
What's wrong?
Did you let the cat in?
Slipped my mind.
Oh, Stephen.
What?
If he gets into another fight with a raccoon, I'm divorcing you.
Stephen reluctantly gets out of bed. He reaches for the doorknob, then thinks better of it.
She's your cat. You go get her.
Helena stares at her husband, mouth agape at his insolence.
Seriously?
Fine.
He opens the door. Walter and Harvey descend upon him. They hurl Stephen to the floor before he can react.
Stephen!
Walter pulls out zip ties and binds the couple's hands.
Don't hurt us. Take anything you want.
Harvey pulls socks out of their drawer and gags Helena and Stephen. Rand appears with cell phones, iPads, and 2 laptops. He tosses them on the bed. Harvey picks up one of the laptops and breaks it in half. Helena and Stephen share a look of confusion. Harvey continues to break the rest of the electronics. Walter yanks the landline from the wall. Rand pulls out a hunting knife and stabs Stephen several times until his body goes limp. Helena's eyes widen as she lets out terrified, muffled screams and wrestles her restraints helplessly. Rand holds the bloody knife up to Helena. She hyperventilates with petrified sobs. Interior, Nora's house, continuous. The podcast In the Dark plays through a Bluetooth speaker on Nora's desk. The soft voice of Madeline Barron narrates the haunting disappearance of Jason Wetterling. Nora clicks through crime scene photos on her web browser. Series of shots. 1970s yearbook photos of smiling high school boys. Close-ups of a female victim's stab wounds. Police sketches of suspects. More yearbook photos from 1970s and 1980s. Dead, lifeless eyes staring out at victims. Nora clicks on a link and sees the crime scene photo of a little girl, a murder victim. She closes it quickly, pauses the podcast on her speaker, then clicks on an open tab on her browser for her blog. Insert.
I've been asked many times, why true crime? I can't shake the violent images of what if from my restless brain. I've imagined the worst possible scenario again and again, but I'm no closer to knowing how to avoid it. How to stop the unthinkable.
Nora highlights and deletes everything after why true crime and tries a different tack.
Aside from the obvious connection, I feel I'm being drawn down into a dark place. A place I can't leave because I've always been there.
Nora again deletes her answer to the question, why true crime? She answers simply,
because you're a crazy bitch.
She laughs at herself. Her shoulders relax for the first time since we've met her. But the steel facade she's maintained up until this point is breaking. Nora wells up. Then a creak in the floorboards above takes her breath away. She looks up. Interior, Rachel's house, bedroom, continuous. Rachel sits upright in bed, scrolling through Facebook on her phone. She hears a noise. Without taking her eyes off her bedroom door, she reaches behind her headboard and pulls out a golf club. Rachel tiptoes towards her bedroom door and opens it as quietly as she can. Interior, Rachel's house, hallway, continuous. Rachel flips on the hallway light. She listens. It's quiet. She examines every shadow. She holds her breath as her bare feet move soundlessly down the hardwood planks. She stalks into the darkened hallway, turns a corner, and comes face to face with a masked figure, Walter. She lands one solid hit, but as she pulls back to swing again, a gloved hand grabs it. It's Rand. He pulls the golf club out of Rachel's hands and pushes her down the stairs. Interior, Rachel's house, front foyer, continuous. Rachel is dazed and disoriented as Rand bounds down the steps. His masked cohorts, Walter and Harvey, surround her. Rand brandishes his hunting knife. Rachel tries to get up to run, but Rand reaches her first. He holds her down. Rachel claws him, connecting fingernails to flesh through his mask. Rand recoils in pain. Harvey kneels down and holds Rachel's arms as Rand stabs her. He removes his mask, revealing Rachel's bloody claw marks. His face is the last thing she sees as the light flickers out of her eyes and the blood drains from her body, seeping into the hardwood floor. Cut to interior, Nora's house, Aubrey and Desmond's bathroom, continuous. Red running water, blood being washed from a pair of Thinks period panties. A knock on the door, and Aubrey turns as her mother pokes her head into the bathroom.
Can't I get any privacy in this house? It isn't bad enough that I still share a room with my brother. I have to have you barging in on me too.
It's late. Are you almost ready for bed?
What difference does it make? I'm suspended, remember?
And whose fault is that?
Aubrey shoots Nora a withering look. Nora regrets her retort.
Are you really going to start in on me?
Nora holds up her hands, surrendering the argument.
No. I'm sorry.
Nora softens as she looks at her adolescent daughter. She runs her fingers through Aubrey's dyed hair.
If you want, I can help you dye it again tomorrow. We could try a different color.
Aubrey scowls at Nora.
Just a thought.
Interior, Nora's house, Aubrey and Desmond's bedroom, continuous. Nora shuts the bathroom door and turns around to see Desmond, fast asleep. She watches him for a moment, holding vigil. Interior, Nora's house, Aubrey and Desmond's bathroom, continuous. Aubrey stares at her reflection in the mirror. She's feeling a barrage of emotions, the onslaught of adolescence. She grabs a pair of scissors on the counter and cuts close to her scalp, letting her long blue locks rain into the sink. Interior, Nora's house, Aubrey and Desmond's bedroom, later. Aubrey exits the bathroom, dives under her covers, and turns off her lamp. Nora turns the light back on to get a closer look of Aubrey's drastic and wildly uneven haircut. She subdues her surprise and sits on the edge of her daughter's bed.
Very drastic.
Before you lecture me again,
I'm not going to lecture you. I wanted to say that you're right. I know that you should have a cell phone, like other 13-year-olds. I know you should be starting to fool around with boys and smoking pot like a normal adolescent. But normal has never been in the cards for us.
Nora reaches out to touch her daughter's hair again. Aubrey recoils from her mother's affection.
you don't know anything about me, and you never will.
Aubrey turns her back on her mother and pulls the covers over her head. Interior, Nora's house, kitchen, continuous. Nora runs downstairs. As soon as she makes it to the kitchen, she bursts into tears. After a moment or two, she pulls herself together. She plugs her phone into the charger on the countertop. She walks around the house, checking every door and window to make sure it's locked. Interior, Nora's house, Aubrey and Desmond's bedroom, continuous. Aubrey lies awake in the dark, staring at her ceiling. She stews for a moment, then throws back her covers and grabs her steel-toed boots from under the bed. Interior, Nora's house, front foyer, continuous. Nora comes to the front door and reaches for the lock as a masked face appears in the narrow window of the door. It's Walter. Nora's breath quickens as she locks the deadbolt, just before the masked man tries the knob. She adds the chain, then turns back to the phone on the charger. Interior, Nora's house, kitchen, continuous. Nora makes a run for the phone and yanks it from the cord. Her hands tremble as she fumbles to unlock it. Another masked man, Harvey, grabs her from behind. She drops the phone. It shatters. Nora fights like her life depends on it. She bites her assailant's hand.
Get out! Get out of the house!
Rand and Walter quickly surround Nora. Walter zaps Nora with a stun gun. Harvey binds her wrists with a zip tie. Rand signals to Walter and Harvey. They carry Nora to the living room. He looks up at the top of the stairwell. Aubrey ducks out of sight, a moment too late. Interior, Nora's house, upstairs, continuous. Aubrey darts back into her room. She locks the door behind her. Desmond sits up, alarmed.
Get up and help me.
He jumps out of bed and helps her barricade the door with her dresser. They stare at it breathlessly. Aubrey finishes tying the laces of her boots. Desmond follows her lead, stuffs his feet into his Vans. Aubrey runs into the bathroom and grabs the scissors. She comes back into the bedroom, ready to defend herself. Interior, Nora's house, living room, continuous. Harvey sits Nora in a chair. She's dazed. Her body convulses with muscle spasms. She struggles to talk.
Jewelry's in the freezer. My laptop's in the office. There's nothing else to steal.
Rand stares at her coldly for a moment, his face much too close to hers. Rand turns to Walter, who slings an axe over his shoulder.
Get the kids.
He jogs upstairs. Nora wiggles her fingers, which have just regained feeling.
No! Leave them alone!
No one listens to her as she works her wrists, feverishly trying to squeeze a hand through.
Just take what you want and get the fuck out of my house.
Rand grabs Nora's arm and twists it until she cries out in pain. She squirms in his tight grasp.
Call them.
Fuck you.
Rand twists her arm harder. He's enjoying the torture. Exterior, Nora's house, Aubrey and Desmond's bedroom, continuous. Walter chops his way into the bedroom door. He tosses the dresser aside and pushes his way in. It's empty. He checks the closet, under the bed, then notices the open window. He glances outside. The yard is empty. He leaves the room, and as he does, we see the children inside the heating grate. They've been watching silently. They climb down. It's an escape passage. Interior, Nora's house, heating grate, continuous. We follow Desmond and Aubrey as they crawl down the gutted heating system as quietly as they can. Exterior, Nora's house, under the porch, continuous. The escape passage leads under the porch of the house. The kids belly crawl to the edge of the porch and squat for a moment, surveying the yard in every direction.
We have to make a run for Rachel's house.
Desmond tears up.
I don't think I can.
We have to.
I'm scared.
Desmond bursts into tears. Aubrey shushes him.
I'm scared too, but we need to call for help, okay?
What about Mom?
This is what she trained us to do.
Aubrey crawls to the edge of the porch. Desmond grabs her as she's about to run.
Are those guys gonna kill her?
Yes.
Desmond sobs. Aubrey signals for him to be quiet.
We have to help her.
We can't.
But we can't let her die.
They hear Nora's screams echoing throughout the house.
If we go back to help her, they'll kill us too.
Tears flood Desmond's cheeks. Aubrey gets flustered, but comforts her brother to calm him down.
The only way to help Mom is to get to a phone and call the cops.
Desmond nods, wipes his eyes, and reluctantly follows Aubrey into the dark yard. Interior, Nora's house, living room, continuous. Rand paces Nora's living room. Upstairs, Harvey and Walter toss the bedrooms.
What do you perverts want with my children?
Rand kneels down to get a closer look at Nora.
I don't want to fuck your kids, lady.
Then what do you want? You know what, forget it. I don't care what you want or why.
Take it easy.
Why? Because you had a tough childhood? Your father beat you or touched your penis?
Rand pulls off his mask.
Whatever your excuse is for your violent criminal behavior.
Rand shoves his mask into her mouth, silencing Nora.
I think you'd better leave my father out of this, Nora.
Nora's eyes widen when she hears her name. Rand makes like he's going to punch her. She flinches. Her breath quickens, and the trauma forces Nora to shut down. She stares off. Suddenly, she's somewhere else. Flashback. Interior, big box store, day. We see this pivotal moment that shapes everything from Nora's perspective. Out of the corner of her eye, a blur. She turns and sees the Axeman coming towards her. He sinks his axe into the silver-haired man's head, but his eyes are on Nora. He clocks her as she dives under the checkout conveyor belt. His sneer is cold-blooded, unmistakably evil. Back to scene. Nora stares off, trapped in her memory. Rand caresses her face with the back of his gloved hand. She shivers in disgust.
We can talk about what my father did or didn't do a little later if you're still interested.
Exterior, Rachel's house, night. Desmond and Aubrey are panting and out of breath by the time they reach Rachel's house. Aubrey pounds on the front door.
Rachel, help! Call 911!
She tries the handle. It's locked.
She has a spare key out here somewhere.
Where?
In the flower pot.
Desmond digs into the flower pot, finds the key, and unlocks the door. Interior, Rachel's house, continuous. The house is dark and quiet, except for the upstairs hallway light, which spills onto the stairwell.
Rachel?
Desmond and Aubrey share a look. Something is not right.
Find your phone and call the police. I'm going to look for Rachel.
She might be at the hospital.
Her car is in the driveway.
Aubrey ascends the staircase hesitantly. She takes a deep breath before turning the corner. She looks. Nothing. She tiptoes towards the bedroom. A sliver of light peeks out of the doorway. Aubrey throws open the door. Interior, Rachel's house, bedroom, continuous. Aubrey finds a small pile of Rachel's electronics. Cell phone, laptop, iPad. Everything bashed to smithereens. She picks each one up anyway, searching for a piece of functioning technology. She hears Desmond scream from downstairs and takes off running. Interior, Rachel's house, office, continuous. Aubrey finds Desmond standing over Rachel's body, beaten, bludgeoned, and stabbed repeatedly. Aubrey holds her brother, forcing him to turn away. She takes it in for a beat. Rachel's right hand has been removed.
Don't look, Desmond. Don't look at her.
We have to call 911. We have to help her.
We can't help Rachel.
Call the police. Just call them. Please, Aubrey, you have to call them.
Calm down.
But we need to call the police.
I can't!
Desmond is stunned by her curtness.
They destroyed all the phones.
We have to leave. They're going to come back. They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us, Aubrey.
Shut up, Desmond.
Desmond trembles violently. He's going into shock. Aubrey grabs him by the shoulders and shakes him.
Listen to me. We have to stay calm.
They hear a creaking sound. Both turn to the front door and realize that they left it open, just a crack. They hide themselves in the office and hold their breath. The door creaks open. Aubrey covers her brother's mouth for fear that he'll make a sound. Desmond hyperventilates. The door pushes open, and a curious tabby cat noses inside. They both exhale violently.
Jesus fucking Christ.
It's the Franklin's cat.
I know, Desmond.
What do we do?
I don't know.
Aubrey searches the room for something, anything that can help them. She notices an ashtray on Rachel's desk, and a half-smoked joint next to a lighter.
Hand me that lighter.
Interior Rachel's house, kitchen, moments later. Aubrey stands on a stepladder. She waves a lit magazine at the smoke detector. The room gradually fills with smoke. Both the children cough.
Do you think this will work?
It has to.
But how long will it take for the fire department to get here?
I don't know.
What if this is a trap?
It's not a trap.
What do we do if those guys come back?
I don't know, Desmond.
How do we even know these things signal the fire department?
They must.
It should have gone off by now.
Shut the fuck up, Desmond.
The flame reaches her fingers, burning her. She yelps and drops the magazine. Desmond quickly stamps it out. Aubrey unscrews the smoke detector and turns it over. The battery compartment is empty.
Fuck.
She throws the smoke detector on the floor.
I don't have the answers. Just because I'm the oldest doesn't mean I automatically know what to do.
She sits down on the stepladder, pulls her knees into her chest, and weeps. Desmond puts his arm around his sister, comforting her.
I'm sorry. It was a good idea.
Interior Nora's house, continuous. The men rummage through Nora's house, breaking and destroying in search of something or just for the sake of it. Rand keeps watch on Nora. She tries to talk through her gag. He watches her with amusement, finally pulls it out.
What could you possibly be looking for? You have no intention of letting me live.
He smiles, letting her question hang in the air.
Then why prolong this?
You want to be helpful? You can tell me where your children are hiding.
Walter descends the stairs with his axe. Harvey enters from Nora's office.
You must be joking.
Are they still in the house, or have they run to the neighbors yet?
I wouldn't tell you if I knew.
Rand looks to his men. They rush Nora. Harvey cuts her zip tie, gets her to her feet, as Walter hands his axe to Rand and holds out her arm.
Let's find out. Call them.
No.
I'll give you to the count of 3.
Nora shuts her eyes.
1.
He swings and severs Nora's arm at the elbow. She opens her eyes. She stares at her severed arm in disbelief. She's too petrified to make a sound. Her body goes into shock. Walter lets her fall to her knees.
Go check out the neighbor's house.
Walter complies. Interior Rachel's house, continuous. Desmond and Aubrey sit in silence. Neither one knows what to do. Aubrey covers her ears as if she's holding in her fear and anxiety.
Do you think Mom is still alive?
I hope so.
I know it's stupid, but I just keep hoping that she got out of the house somehow, or that she somehow called the cops, and any second now they're going to drive up and save us.
Suddenly, Aubrey springs up from the stepladder and searches the drawers for something.
What's wrong?
Aubrey doesn't hear her brother. She's too focused.
What are you doing?
She slams the drawer shut and rushes out of the room. Interior Rachel's house, hallway, continuous. Aubrey checks the pockets of each and every coat hanging in the hallway closet. She tosses them all on the floor, one by one, until the closet is empty. She shuts the door, not finding what she's looking for. Then she sees Rachel's purse hanging on the doorknob. Aubrey snatches it, unzipping every compartment and digging into it in a frenzy. In her impatience, Aubrey dumps the bag in the middle of the hallway. She lights up when she sees them. Rachel's car keys. Interior Nora's house, continuous. Nora is shivering as she removes her sweater with her remaining hand and unfastens her belt. She uses both as a makeshift tourniquet for her severed arm. Rand and Harvey watch her struggle. Exterior Rachel's house, continuous. Desmond and Aubrey run out the front door. In their haste, they don't see Walter lying in wait. He grabs Desmond by the back of the neck and locks his arm around him.
Aubrey!
Aubrey turns around and sees Walter. He beckons her to come. She stands her ground.
Come on, kid. You don't want to see me break your brother's neck.
Aubrey hesitates before climbing the steps of Rachel's porch. She feels something in the pocket of her pajama bottoms.
Yeah, come on. I won't hurt you.
Walter reaches out to her. As she gets just within reach, she pulls the scissors from her pocket and jabs Walter in the hand. He releases Desmond and charges Aubrey.
Oh, you little cunt!
Aubrey kicks Walter in the shin with her steel-toed boot and stabs him in the thigh with the scissors. He groans in pain. He yanks the scissors from his thigh. Desmond hits him over the head with a flower pot. It slows him, but not much. Walter turns to Desmond. Aubrey grabs another pot and smashes it over his head. Desmond smashes another pot, too. Walter is disoriented. Aubrey finds a garden gnome, heaves it with all her strength, and throws it against Walter's head. He collapses on the porch. Desmond and Aubrey stare at him, not willing to move.
Is he dead?
I don't know.
She checks her pocket for the car keys. Then she realizes they are lying beside Walter's body. She tiptoes up to him, stepping between his legs. She reaches over. Her eyes dart between his face and the keys. Desmond watches in fearful anticipation. She lifts the keys, careful not to let them jingle. Walter exhales softly. Desmond gasps. Aubrey puts her finger to her mouth. He's silent. She counts to 3 on one hand, then mouths, "Run." Desmond and Aubrey book off the porch, bolt to Rachel's Prius, and leap inside as quickly as they can. Interior, Rachel's Prius. Exterior, Rachel's driveway. Continuous. They lock their doors. The kids buckle their seatbelts. Aubrey starts the car. Desmond closes his eyes, relieved. Rachel's Prius bobs clumsily down the gravel driveway. Aubrey jerks forward, hitting the brake and the gas at the same time.
You're only supposed to use your right foot.
I know.
Exterior, Rachel's house. Porch, continuous. Walter has disappeared from the porch. Only the shards of Rachel's potted plants remain. Interior, Rachel's car, continuous. The kids are too focused on the daunting task of driving to worry about Walter.
You're using both feet.
Do you want to drive?
The car dips into a weather-torn pothole. Aubrey stops suddenly, looks at her brother.
It's okay. It's just a pothole. It'll flatten out when you get to the road.
Aubrey turns onto the street. She relaxes a bit.
Turn off the headlights until we get past our house so they don't see us.
Good idea.
Aubrey pulls over, fiddling with the controls until she finds the headlights. They proceed slowly down the dark street.
Do you think they'll hear us?
It's a Prius.
What about Mom?
Aubrey doesn't answer.
We have to try to get Mom out.
Don't be stupid. We need to get to the cops. They're the only ones who can help her.
If she's still alive.
Aubrey looks at her brother. He avoids her gaze.
What did she say? Over and over. Don't wait for me. Get to safety.
Yeah, I know, but who could have predicted this?
Mom did. We always thought she was crazy, but she knew.
I never thought Mom was crazy.
Well, good for you. I guess you're right about her.
I won't abandon her.
I'm not abandoning her. What do you want me to do?
Aubrey tears up. She's facing a horrible reality.
We could save her.
You nearly pissed your pants when a few seniors pushed you around. What makes you think you can stand up to these psychos?
We both just stood up to one of them.
And we're lucky to be alive right now.
Desmond is distracted by something in the distance. He points. She sees it too. Walter staggers down the road. He holds his head and turns as the car nears. He reaches out and runs towards them, fury in his face. Aubrey jerks the wheel. She hits Walter with the side of the car. He falls into a ditch. Both kids turn to see if he's still chasing them.
Is he dead now?
I don't know.
You hit him with the car.
Yeah, I know, Desmond.
She speeds up, but keeps looking over her shoulder. She can't see Walter.
Aubrey, look out!
She looks forward and swerves, but not in time to evade another car. They crash head-on. Twisted metal, shattered glass, and smoke comes in and out of focus as Aubrey struggles to stay conscious. She's dazed.
He didn't have his headlights on either.
She loses consciousness. Interior, Nora's house, living room, continuous. Nora sits on the floor, leaning against the sofa. She's still shivering, and finally pulls the blanket off of the sofa, wrapping it around herself. Harvey bounds down the stairs and whispers something to Rand. They both glance at Nora. Rand checks his watch.
Who are you? How do you know me? How do you know my name?
Rand shrugs, holding back the answer. She steels herself, challenging him.
You think you're brave? 3 of you against 1 woman?
Brave is boring.
Rand ducks out of the living room, exiting through the door leading to the garage. He returns with a hammer.
Whatever you're doing, please don't do it.
Harvey gets Nora up and forces her to sit in the chair.
This time I promise to count to 3.
He holds it over her knee.
1,
Don't do this.
2,
He raises the hammer over his head. Nora
3,
shuts her eyes, bracing herself.
3.
A pregnant pause. Nora opens her eyes and realizes that Rand is toying with her. Her breathing accelerates with her sudden spike of adrenaline. Interior, Rachel's car, continuous. Aubrey regains consciousness. Her vision is blurred. She blinks several times until the figure standing over her forms in her focus. He unbuckles and carries her out of the car. Exterior, Nora's street, continuous. Aubrey blinks again. Her father, Charlie, gently lies her on the grass beside the road.
Dad?
Shh. It's okay, honey. I'm here. You're safe.
Aubrey bursts into tears and wraps her arms around her father's neck. She suddenly remembers.
Desmond!
It's okay. I'm going to get him now. Just lie still.
Charlie runs back to Rachel's car and emerges with Desmond, who is dazed and rubbing his head, but otherwise all right.
Daddy?
Yeah, it's me, champ. You're gonna be alright.
He sobs into his father's shoulder as Charlie rocks him lovingly, kissing his forehead.
Hey, it's alright, buddy.
Is that man still following us?
Charlie looks down the road in both directions, sees no one.
No one's following you.
Desmond doesn't believe him.
We have to get out of here. Please, Dad, we have to go.
It's okay, buddy. No one's there, see?
Aubrey stands shakily, trying to get her bearings.
Whoa, don't stand up.
I'm okay.
You hit your head pretty bad.
I did?
She touches her head, pulls back her hand. It's spotted with blood.
Yeah. You were just in a car accident, don't you remember?
Yeah.
Aubrey looks back at the 2 mangled cars.
You might have a concussion, so go slow, okay?
Okay.
Aubrey suddenly remembers.
We need to get help.
I'm going to take you guys to the hospital. I just want to check you out first.
No, Dad, you don't understand. Some men broke into our house. They have Mom. They're going to hurt her.
Okay, stay calm, guys. Let me see if either of the cars is safe to drive.
Charlie runs back to his car. The kids watch him get into the driver's seat. He leaves the door open and turns the key. Charlie's car sputters as the engine attempts to ignite. Desmond squeezes his sister's hand anxiously. The engine sputters, then turns over, rumbling. Charlie beckons his kids.
Get in.
He slams the door. Aubrey and Desmond jump into the back seat.
What were you doing here?
Charlie glances into his rearview mirror guiltily.
Well, I was hoping to convince your mother to settle this custody thing out of court.
Aubrey eyes him suspiciously as they cruise down their street.
Why were your headlights turned off?
I think you're mixed up, Aubrey baby. We just had an accident.
Didn't that seem strange to you that Desmond and I were driving a car?
Of course.
You didn't even ask me why.
You just said you were going to get help. Right now, I'm just relieved you're both okay.
Where's your phone? Can you call 911?
Charlie checks his jacket pockets.
Shit, I left it at home.
You left it at home?
It's probably still in the charger.
Charlie looks around at the eerie darkness.
It's weird. It's not usually this dark around here.
They all notice at once. Desmond is the first to say it.
The streetlights are out.
Desmond and Aubrey look at their house in the distance.
You still carry a gun?
How do you even know about that?
From Mom.
Yeah, Dad. Do you still keep it in the car?
You guys are really scaring me right now.
Aubrey studies her father's face, full of concern.
Dad, you just passed Mom's house.
We're not going to your mom's.
You can't just leave her there.
I'm not putting you at risk.
But they're going to kill her.
Your mom would want me to protect you.
Fuck you.
Excuse me?
Fuck you and fuck Mom. You both think you can do whatever you want without any regard for what me and Desmond want.
Charlie doesn't know what to say to this.
You have to save her.
Just because I have a gun doesn't mean I'm some sort of a cowboy.
No, you're right. You're a junkie and a coward.
Aubrey,
Stop the car.
I will not stop the car.
Stop the car.
Charlie slows as he turns to face his daughter. She reaches over Desmond and opens the back car door.
What are you doing? Are you crazy?
Aubrey pushes Desmond out of the car. Desmond hits a patch of grass, rolling through it. Charlie slams on the brakes.
What the hell, Aubrey?
Aubrey leaps out after her brother. Charlie throws the car into park. He steps out in time to see his kids disappear into the darkness.
Fuck.
Charlie jogs back to his trunk and finds his .38 revolver. He stalks up to the hill towards Nora's house. Exterior, Nora's house, woodshed, continuous. Aubrey and Desmond take cover behind the woodshed. They watch Charlie sneak up to their front door.
What are we doing here?
You were right about Mom.
What do you mean?
We have to kill those guys.
Desmond seems both relieved and terrified.
What about Dad?
Aubrey can't bring herself to respond. She shakes her head.
I'm going to find some weapons and sneak back into the house.
Desmond looks terrified.
While you go try to flag down a driver to get help.
What?
Just don't let Dad see you.
No, I'm coming with you.
This is too much for you. You're 10 years old.
You're 13. I'm scared, but I'm not leaving you alone.
Desmond.
What's the plan?
Aubrey can tell by the determined look on his face he will not be dissuaded. She relents. Exterior Nora's house, continuous. Charlie finds a break in the curtain where he can see into the house. From his point of view, we can see only Nora. A figure passes in front of the window, startling him. It's Walter. He's returning, defeated. He and Harvey have a heated argument. Charlie leaves the window and sneaks around the house to the opened garage door. Interior, Nora's house, garage, continuous. Charlie draws his revolver, treading lightly as he creeps into Nora's house, the barrel of the gun leading his way. Exterior, Nora's house, woodshed, continuous. Aubrey and Desmond hide in the shed, plotting in hushed tones.
Do you really think Dad had anything to do with this?
I don't know, but he was always in with shady people. Did you know he went to prison?
He did?
It was just for drugs, but Mom said he was never the same after that.
Aubrey stuffs her pockets with whatever tools she can use as a weapon. A box cutter, a screwdriver, lighter fluid, and fishing line.
Why didn't Mom ever tell me?
Desmond looks around for a weapon too. He picks up a mallet, then immediately sets it down when he sees the sledgehammer.
She was probably waiting until she thought you could handle it.
I'm tougher than you guys give me credit for.
Are you prepared to kill those men?
Yeah.
No, I mean it. It's one thing to fight, like in those self-defense classes. It's another thing to kill someone.
What would you know about it?
I just hit a guy with a car.
You don't know that you killed him.
I do know that if we go up against these guys and we hesitate, we're dead.
You sound like Mom.
I'm starting to understand her.
Desmond picks up some loose boards from the floor.
I have an idea.
He finds the power drill and wood screws.
Do you trust me?
Of course.
Aubrey follows her brother. Interior, Nora's house, living room, continuous. Charlie slips into the kitchen through the garage, staying out of sight. Nora sees him first. She casts her eyes to the ground, pretending not to notice him. Charlie hesitates, takes a breath to steady himself, then steps on a creaky floorboard. Harvey and Walter turn.
Show me your hands.
Walter and Harvey share an uncertain look.
Did you hear me? I said show me your fucking hands!
They reluctantly raise their hands above their heads.
Nora, can you time them up with something?
She's silent for a moment. He glances over and realizes for the first time that her left arm is missing.
Jesus, Nora.
A wave of anger passes over Charlie as he aims, first at Walter, then Harvey, as if deciding which one to shoot first.
What did they do to you?
Hey, chump.
Charlie spins around, pointing the .38 at Rand, who holds his hands up defensively. While his back is turned, Walter zaps him with the stun gun. Rand deftly takes the gun with one hand and stabs Charlie with the other. They lay him next to Nora. His look is anguished, not just from his stab wound, but also his shame. He's weak, but he'll live. Exterior, Nora's house, continuous. The kids exit the shed, then duck down, and run as fast as they can under the porch. They crawl back into the trap door at the bottom. Interior, Nora's house, living room, continuous. Charlie writhes on the floor. He's bleeding badly. Nora is still alarmed and confused.
What are you doing here?
Tears form in Charlie's eyes.
I just wanted to talk to you. Thought we could work things out, without all the lawyers.
Oh, God. Charlie, I thought you hired these guys.
You thought I hired these guys?
Yes.
How could you think that of me?
All those things you said in court?
I'm the father of your children.
They are both silent for a moment. Their petty conflict seems small in light of their current situation.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
Then who are they? Why are they here?
I don't know.
They hear the tearing of paper and turn to see Rand ripping the pages from Nora's book. He removes the dust jacket and rips up her photo.
I'm the face of violence, Nora. The face of evil.
He tosses the book. Scraps of paper rain down around them.
And I'm getting bored.
Rand takes out his knife. Interior, Nora's house, heating grate, continuous. Aubrey and Desmond watch. Tears stream down Aubrey's face. She looks at Desmond. He lays a hand on her shoulder. Desmond accidentally bumps the heating grate. They look at each other, terrified. then duck out of sight. Back to interior Nora's house, living room, continuous. Rand and the other men turn. The metal reverberates softly. Walter pries open the grate. Interior Nora's house, heating grate, continuous. He pulls a flashlight out of his pocket. A beam of light hits Aubrey as she scurries down. Walter grabs her, getting a fistful of her shirt. She fights him off and disappears into the escape passage. Interior Nora's house, living room, continuous. He turns back and shakes his head. Rand motions to Nora.
Get her up.
Harvey forces Nora to her feet.
Listen up. Kids, come out now, or I'll take your mother's other arm.
Rand pulls Nora's right arm straight and signals to Harvey to hold it steady. Rand picks up the axe.
Fucking stop!
Harvey punches Charlie to shut him up.
You have until 3, kids.
Aubrey, Desmond, don't you dare come out. Stay where you are.
You might be brave, but your death will not be quick or merciful.
Charlie struggles to get to his feet, but Harvey kicks him back to the ground.
Are you going to take us all on, little man?
Don't do this.
1,
Rand raises the axe above his head.
2.
Stop.
They turn to see Aubrey standing in front of the open door. She's scared and sobbing.
Aubrey, no.
Let them go.
Or what?
Aubrey stands frozen and trembling. She looks to Nora.
Go get her.
Walter rushes Aubrey, but as soon as he's in range, she pulls out the lighter fluid out of her back pocket and squirts it in his eyes.
Ah!
Walter covers his eyes. Aubrey pulls the box cutter out of her other pocket and slices into his stomach.
Jesus.
It's not a fatal wound, but Walter doubles over and clutches his stomach. He leans over just enough for Aubrey to cut his throat. Blood runs down his neck and chest. He looks to Rand helplessly.
If she doesn't kill you, I will.
Aubrey darts outside. Walter holds his neck to stop the bleeding. He drops his stun gun as he stumbles to the door. Walter gets to the other side of the doorway with Aubrey still in his sights when a sledgehammer flies out and hits him in the chest. Rand, Harvey, Nora, and Charlie watch in shock as the front door slams shut. We hear a power drill, and the point of a wood screw stabs through the door, splintering the wood.
What the fuck was that?
Go help him.
Harvey rushes to the door. He tries to open it, but it's jammed shut. Rand picks up the stun gun. Exterior, Nora's house, front porch, continuous. Desmond jumps off of a wicker porch chair. He stands over Walter, who is on all fours, gasping for breath, bleeding from his neck wound. He turns his bloodshot eyes toward Desmond.
You're fucking dead, you little shit.
Desmond stares back at him, frozen in fear.
Kill him.
Aubrey finishes securing the wooden plank to the front door.
Desmond, you have to kill him.
I can't.
Kill him, Desmond.
Walter reaches for Desmond's foot and pulls it out from under him. Desmond lands on his back with a thud. Walter wraps his hands around Desmond's throat. Aubrey punches Walter, but he swats her away.
You're not the first kid I've killed.
Walter squeezes Desmond's throat. Desmond looks into his assailant's face, blood dripping from his wounds. Suddenly, a screwdriver punches through Walter's throat. Aubrey pulls the screwdriver out and stabs him again in the back. They hear banging on the front door as Aubrey pushes Walter off of Desmond. He is drenched in the dead man's blood. Desmond wipes blood from his eyes. Aubrey helps him to his feet. Harvey smashes the picture window with a chair. Run. The kids bolt off the porch. Harvey gives chase. Aubrey and Desmond share a look, then take off in opposite directions. Harvey follows Aubrey. We follow Desmond as he circles back and dives under the house. From his vantage point, he can see Harvey gain on Aubrey. She disappears into the woods. Harvey follows. Interior, Nora's house, living room, continuous. Charlie crawls to Nora. Rand watches them, but does nothing to stop them. They whisper their conversation.
Nora, just want you to understand something. You don't have to forgive me, but I need you to know.
Not now, Charlie.
All those years you pushed me away. I didn't know what you had gone through, and I couldn't do anything to help you.
Please, just don't.
Do you have any idea what that was like for me?
God, you're so selfish, self-absorbed.
How am I selfish?
Can you stop talking like a junkie for one moment?
I felt helpless. I just need you to understand.
Nora covers her ear with her one good arm to keep his voice out of her head.
Our children are out there.
Nora.
Shut the fuck up, Charlie. Shut up, shut up.
Nora.
Rand hits him with a stun gun. Charlie screams.
Yeah, Charlie, shut the fuck up.
Rand hits him again with the stun gun.
I'm sick of your voice.
Rand turns to Nora.
Don't worry. This will all be over soon.
He hits Nora with the stun gun and leaves them as he climbs through the broken window. Exterior woods continuous. Aubrey weaves through the woods as fast as she can, serpentining to evade Harvey, but he keeps pace. Her foot catches on a tree root and she falls. As she pushes herself up to continue running, Harvey grabs her shirt collar and throws her to the ground. Exterior Nora's house, front porch, continuous. Rand examines the wreckage and the corpse of his cohort. He steps off of the porch and walks into the yard. Exterior Nora's house, under the porch, continuous. Desmond searches the woods for some sign of his sister.
Come on. Aubrey, where are you?
He's on the verge of tears when he sees Rand's boots stomp past. He holds his breath as Rand stops in front of him. Interior, Nora's house, living room, continuous. Charlie writhes on the floor. He regains feeling in his arms and legs. Nora wiggles her feet, recovering slowly too.
Can you move?
I've got a feeling in my feet again. Just give me a minute.
Charlie kicks out his leg.
I think I can make a run for it. What about you?
Not yet.
Fuck.
There's a baseball bat under my bed.
Nora, I don't know if I can. You said yourself I'm a junkie fuck-up.
You're the father of my children.
Charlie searches around him for any sign of Rand.
You always know what to say.
Charlie pushes himself up to standing, and using all of his strength, hobbles up the stairs.
Quickly, before he comes back.
Nora keeps her eyes on the window, still partially paralyzed. Exterior, Nora's house, under the porch, continuous. Desmond digs his fingers into the ground underneath him as he watches Rand's boots walk away and disappear. In the distance, he hears Aubrey scream. He shuts his eyes as tears run down his face. Exterior, woods, continuous. Harvey drags Aubrey through the woods. She punches and kicks him with all her might, but Harvey is much bigger and stronger. She screams. Flashback. Big box store, day. We see Nora from young Aubrey's eyes as the Axeman rushes towards them. She watches her mother as she shields Aubrey from the man, shoving her under the checkout. Nora shuts her eyes. Aubrey sees the Axeman grab Nora's leg and drag her out. Nora turns to Aubrey.
Run, Aubrey!
Aubrey freezes. The Axeman pulls Nora by the hair. She turns to her daughter.
Run!
This time, Aubrey runs. She has her back to the Axeman as he raises the blade above his head. Aubrey turns to see Nora kick the Axeman mid-swing, throwing him off his aim. The axe hits the floor. Shots ring out, echoing through the store over the eerily melodic Christmas music. The Axeman's head explodes as police officers shoot him at close range. Her innocent face registers a sight she's too young to process. The horror imprints on her brain. Back to scene. Exterior, woods, night. Harvey strangles Aubrey. She's scared and she's crying, but she calms herself long enough to push her arms up through his to break his grasp. She acts on instinct now, punching him as hard as she can in the throat. It's just enough to throw him off. She wriggles back and kicks him in the groin with a steel-toed boot. Harvey fights through the pain, but Aubrey gets above him and quickly lands a kick to his head. He reaches for her, but he's disoriented. Aubrey gets behind Harvey. She quickly unspools a few yards of fishing line from her pocket and winds it around his throat. Flashback, big box store. Nora is dragged away from Aubrey. Flashback, Nora's house, living room. Harvey holds Nora's arm as Rand raises the axe. Flashback, big box store. Aubrey turns back to see the Axeman's head exploding. Flashback, Nora's house, living room. Nora looks back at Aubrey, afraid. Back to scene. Exterior, woods, continuous. Aubrey pushes her knee into Harvey's back and pulls on the fishing line. The nylon thread digs into the skin of his neck. He wheezes and gasps for breath.
I can't breathe.
Aubrey pulls the line harder. Harvey's eyes bulge. He gulps for air. His body goes limp. Aubrey tightens her grip. She's crying as she chokes her assailant to death. She finally lets his head drop to the ground. Her body convulses with silent sobs. She kicks Harvey, not sure whether he is unconscious or dead. Aubrey grabs a large rock. It's a struggle for her to lift it, but she holds it a few feet above Harvey's head. She lets it fall, crushing his skull. Then she collapses onto the ground, allowing herself to wail loudly. Exterior, Nora's house, under the porch, continuous. Desmond watches as Rand returns to the house, carrying a can of gasoline. Exterior, Nora's house, continuous. We follow Rand as he rips the boards off of the front door and opens it. Interior, Nora's house, front foyer, continuous. Rand peeks into the living room, where Nora and Charlie lie helplessly paralyzed on the floor. They stare back at him, eyes wide with fear. As he turns his back on them, Nora spots the stun gun in his back pocket. Rand pours gas along the perimeter of the house, along the walls, and douses curtains and furniture. Exterior, under the porch, continuous. Desmond hears a scuffling. He searches breathlessly behind him, scanning the darkness, but sees nothing. He looks out into the yard and turns back as Aubrey's face appears suddenly. He starts.
Aubrey!
They embrace tightly, a huge relief to be together again. Shush. She points above them and signals that they need to leave. Interior, Nora's house, living room, continuous. Rand completes his circle around the house, and as he returns to the living room, he sees Nora. Charlie is gone. Rand senses the trap, turns as Charlie takes a swing at him. He blocks the hit, knocks the baseball bat out of his hands. Charlie hesitates before throwing a punch, but Rand is quicker and stabs him again with his hunting knife. Charlie collapses on the floor. Rand turns back to the living room. Nora's gone. She's behind him, and her one good arm holds his stun gun. She hits him swiftly and purposefully. Rand falls to the floor. Nora stuns him again and picks up his hunting knife. She stands over his limp body. Rand stares up at her, paralyzed.
Don't. This isn't you.
She plunges the knife into Rand's chest. It's a struggle with one hand, and pulling it out is even harder.
Jesus, Nora.
She stabs him again. Charlie looks away.
I can't live in a world where monsters like this exist.
Nora looks up at him, numbed to everything around her now. She takes a few steps to the front door. Her knees give way. She's lost so much blood. She lies down and closes her eyes. She hears voices in the distance, echoing and faint.
Mom, get up. Get up. Please, I can't carry you.
Aubrey leans down next to Nora's ear.
Bitch, get up. You're not going to die here. Not like this. Get up.
Nora opens her eyes. Aubrey pulls her up by the shoulder. Desmond runs inside to help Nora to her feet. Exterior, Nora's house, front porch, continuous. Aubrey and Desmond help their mother outside. Nora stops them.
I'm okay. I can walk. Go and help your father.
Desmond turns back to the house to get him.
Are you sure you're okay, Mom?
I'm fine. We need to get your father to a hospital.
Aubrey nods and runs back into the house to help Charlie to his feet. Exterior, Nora's car, moments later. Desmond sits beside his father in the back seat. Charlie rests his head on Desmond's lap. Nora sits in the driver's seat, Aubrey in the passenger. Nora struggles to start the car with one arm. Aubrey gently touches her mother's hair. It startles her.
I can do it, Mom.
Nora looks at Aubrey. Her expression is loving and proud.
Yeah, I think that'd be best.
Nora and Aubrey switch places. Aubrey gets behind the wheel. The car slowly pulls out of the driveway, bobs down the road.
Wow, I'm impressed. That's one thing I don't have to teach you.
Mom! Something's wrong with Dad!
Nora turns around. Charlie coughs up blood. He slips in and out of consciousness.
Put pressure on his wound
Desmond obeys.
and keep him awake.
Dad! Dad! Wake up!
Aubrey can barely see through her misty eyes.
Stay calm,
Aubrey nods and wipes the tears. Nora looks at Charlie with growing concern.
but accelerate.
She presses on the gas.
Desmond, keep calm. There's a hospital less than 2 miles from here.
Talk to me, Dad. Please.
Desmond presses harder into his father's bleeding stab wound.
Aubrey, when we get to the fork in the road, go right.
Please, Dad.
Charlie opens his eyes suddenly. He looks into his son's hopeful face, caresses him, then closes his eyes again.
Dad?
Desmond shakes his father, but he knows that he's dead. He breaks down, hugging Charlie's body. Nora lets out a gasp. Aubrey chokes back tears, focusing on the road ahead of her so she won't completely fall apart. Everyone is silent, except for Desmond. All of his complicated emotions for his father are unleashed like a torrent. He's devastated. Superimpose, 6 months later. Exterior, therapist's office, day. A converted two-story house with a hand-painted sign on the manicured lawn. Interior therapist's office, continuous. Desmond sits in a sofa opposite his therapist, Dr. Epstein, 60s. She has a soft, grandmotherly demeanor.
I miss him, and I don't want to be mad at him, but I am.
It's okay to be angry with someone you love, even when they're your father.
Even when they're dead?
Interior therapist's office, continuous. Nora finishes a session with her soft-spoken psychologist, Dr. Kendrick.
I know I'm not supposed to blame myself. I just can't help but think that the alternative is so much worse.
And what's the alternative?
That it's all random. That there's nothing I could have done to stop it.
She cradles her new prosthetic arm.
And there's nothing I can do to keep it from happening again.
Interior therapist's office, continuous. Aubrey finishes up her own session.
Am I going to be completely fucked up for the rest of my life?
Do you think that you're going to be completely fucked up for the rest of your life?
Aubrey shrugs.
I'm a survivor, I guess.
No one can deny that. The hope is that you'll do more than survive. The hope is that you'll thrive.
Hearing these words sets the gears turning in Aubrey's head. She's letting her guard down.
I really want that.
Interior Nora's car, moments later. Nora does her best with the prosthetic arm, but she hasn't mastered it yet. Aubrey rides passenger. Desmond's in the back.
You okay?
The kids shrug. It's more that they're overwhelmed than dismissive.
I'm proud of you.
Aubrey can't process this tender side of her mother, so she shrugs it off sarcastically.
I'm proud of you too. Maybe we can get you an eye patch to go with your hook hand.
Oh, when did you get funny?
Aubrey's cell buzzes. She checks the message.
What's up?
Oh, it's Alana. She wants me to meet her at the mall.
Oh,
Can we go?
Nora looks as if she wants to say yes. Then something occurs to her.
you know, I would, but I'm supposed to meet with my publisher in an hour.
Aubrey nods, downplaying her disappointment.
Are you going to write about it?
She wants me to. What do you think?
Seemed like it helped you the first time.
Maybe you could help me with it.
Okay.
Can I design your cover?
Fuck you, Desmond. I'm doing the cover. Desmond
Waves her off. They laugh. There was a connection, a bond that was always there, but wasn't visible until now. Exterior, Westlake Mall, day. Nora's car pulls up to the front entrance of the mall. The kids are deep into their new iPhones and don't notice. Aubrey looks up in surprise.
I thought you had a meeting with your publisher.
I do, but you don't have to be there.
You're leaving me alone in a public place?
I'm letting my 13-year-old go hang out with her friend at the mall like normal kids do.
Desmond leans into the front seat, watching in disbelief.
What is happening?
Aubrey opens the car door, then turns back quickly and hugs her mother.
Thank you.
She exits the car. Nora glances back at Desmond.
You want to go too?
Desmond's eyes light up.
Yes, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
He jumps up out of the car and runs to catch up with his sister. Aubrey and Desmond wave to their mother and wander off into a crowd of distracted consumers. Nora cries as she watches her children disappear into the crowd. Her hand grips the steering wheel tightly. Letting go is bittersweet. She drives away. The end.